I think the moment everything inside me cracked was when my own daughter stood in the doorway of my living room, her suitcase half-zipped, her eyes cold and tired, and said the words that felt like a knife sliding across my heart. "We're going tomorrow. Mom, I've already sold your beach house." Just like that. No hesitation, no shame, no tremble in her voice. A house I spent half my life building. A house I bought with quiet sacrifice. A house she grew up in every summer, running through hallways filled with salt air and afternoon singing. Walls that held her laughter and my secret heartbreak. She sold it, without even asking me. If this is your first time here, please like this video, subscribe, and stay with me until the end. I promise you, this story doesn't end the way you think it does. Not even close. Because what my daughter didn't know, what she never even imagined, was that selling that beach house wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. I remember standing there, my hands trembling as I tried to process her words. I asked her, softly, because mothers always speak softly when their hearts are breaking. "Sold. My beach house. Why?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "It's pointless now. Mom, you're getting older. You can't maintain it and we need the money. The buyer wants the keys tomorrow to double quotes we." She said we as if she had the right. As if she owned anything that came from my years of working to jobs. While she slept under a roof I fought tooth and bone to keep a pride. I looked at her. This woman I raised. This child I shaped with my own trembling hands. And I didn't recognize her. I didn't see the girl who used to run into my arms after falling off her bike. I didn't see the teenager who cried on my lap after her first heartbreak. I saw someone who had learned how to take, but forgotten how to love. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. Maybe I should have instead. I sat down on the sofa and folded my hands in my lap like I was preparing for a funeral. Maybe, in a way, I was. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. She sighed, annoyed, as if I were the difficult one. "Mom, please don't start. It's done. You'll thank me one day." Thank her? For what? For erasing the last thing in the world that felt like mine? For ripping away the only place where I still felt like the younger version of myself. The woman who once dreamed of a life filled with sunlight and peace. She walked upstairs afterward, humming as if she hadn't just broken something precious that night. I watched the moon slide across my living room like a silver wound. I sat alone, staring at my hands, these hands that had cooked for her, washed her clothes, braided her hair, held her when nothing else held her together. And I wondered when she stopped seeing me as a mother and started seeing me as a burden. But the truth sat quietly inside my chest like a secret flame. She didn't know the beach house wasn't the only thing I owned. She didn't know what was hidden behind quiet savings, smart investments, and years of pretending to be smaller than I truly was. She didn't know I had spent decades living beneath my means, not because I was poor, but because being humble was easier than being noticed. She didn't know that selling the beach house would be the biggest mistake she'd ever make, not for me, but for her, because she believed she was taking something from me. But she had no idea how much I already had, how much I already knew, and how much I had already prepared. By sunrise, she would learn the kind of woman I truly was. But that comes later. For now, all you need to know is this: I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake listening to the sound of the world shifting beneath my feet, and I understood something painful, something sharp. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who quietly lead us toward the life we were meant to live all along. And sometimes the deepest betrayal is the beginning of our greatest freedom. I woke up the next morning with my heart heavy and my mind strangely calm, as if my soul had finally decided to stop begging for love that wasn't coming back. My daughter was in the kitchen, rushing, stuffing containers into a bag that wasn't hers. She glanced at me, not with guilt, not with fear, but with impatience. "We have to leave early. Mom, the buyer wants to meet at noon." I didn't say anything. For the first time in years, silence felt like power. She mistook it for agreement. In her mind, I was the same woman who always gave in, who said yes to keep the peace, who swallowed tears because she didn't want to burden anyone. But she was wrong. She walked around giving instructions, packing clothes, checking the clock, glancing over her shoulder at me like I was furniture. "We'll get a smaller place after. Something easier. You'll live with us until we figure things out." Something inside me flinched. Live with her, as if I had nowhere else to go. As if the woman standing in front of her wasn't the same woman who once paid the bills, while her father drank away his life. The same woman who rebuilt herself after a marriage that left her with nothing but scars. and stubborn hope. The same woman who taught her child how to be strong, compassionate, and kind, yet she had grown into someone who no longer remembered any of it. I watched her move through the house, my house, touching things I bought, walking past memories she didn't treasure, treating the space like it already belonged to someone else. Every movement of hers felt like a goodbye she didn't deserve to give. She finally stopped and looked at me. "Aren't you going to get dressed?" "We're leaving." Her tone. It wasn't rude. It was worse than rude. It was dismissive. Like she had already decided my life for me. I stood slowly. My knees didn't shake the way they usually do. Instead, I felt a strange, fierce steadiness crawling up my spine. "I think you should sit down," I told her softly. She blinked, surprised. Mom, why?" But I didn't sit. I remained standing, hands folded in front of me. The way a judge stands before delivering a verdict. "You sold my beach house," I said. She rolled her eyes. "I told you, we need the money, no?" I interrupted. I had never interrupted her in my life. She froze. "The house is in my name," I continued. "You had no legal right to sell anything." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her confidence cracked. "It doesn't matter, Mom," she stammered. "I already signed the papers, and they won't go through," I said calmly. "Because the buyer you spoke to, she called me last night." My daughter's face drained of color. She wanted to confirm the sale, which was funny, because I never put the house on the market. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. I continued, "And even if the sale had been real, even if you hadn't made a fool of yourself, the house is protected. Everything I own is protected." Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Everything." I nodded. "You think that house was the only thing I owned? You think I've lived my entire life without preparing for a future, without protecting myself from everyone, Mom?" "I don't understand." I smiled, not with bitterness, with peace. "You will?" I walked past her and picked up my purse. The same purse she once teased me for, calling it old-fashioned, never knowing it carried bank statements she never imagined existed. I turned back to her gently. "I raised you to be loving. I raised you to be grateful. I raised you to never treat people like tools." Her eyes filled with fear. "Mom, please." "But somewhere along the way," I whispered, "you forgot who taught you everything you know." She reached for me. I stepped back. And for the first time in her life, she understood. She wasn't in control of me. She never had been. She never would be. Asterisk, the ride to the beach house was silent. Not because there was nothing left to say, but because she finally knew she had lost the right to speak over my life. She kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, small, frightened glances, like she was checking if I would explode or cry or break. But I didn't. I was done breaking. When we arrived, the buyer, a polite older woman, stepped toward me, ignoring my daughter completely. She shook my hand warmly. "I'm glad you called last night," she said. "I'm not interested in buying the house anymore." My daughter's mouth fell open. We had a deal." The woman looked at her with disappointment, then turned back to me with softness in her eyes. "I only want to buy from people who honor their family," she said quietly. Then she walked away. My daughter collapsed onto the sand, burying her face in her hands. I walked to the porch, my porch, feeling the breeze that had always felt like home. "You lied to me," she whispered behind me. "No," I said gently. "I simply stopped telling you things you no longer deserve to know." She sobbed loud, shaking cries, but they weren't from guilt. They were from fear. Fear of losing what she thought she controlled. Fear of realizing the life she expected me to fund was never guaranteed. "Mom, please, I'm sorry. I didn't know." "No," I said. "You didn't want to know." I sat beside her. "You thought selling this house meant ending my freedom. But actually, started it." She looked up. "I don't understand. If you didn't want to sell, I did want to sell," I said softly. "But on my terms." She blinked. I smiled, a small, knowing smile. "I already sold this house 2 weeks ago, for triple the amount you negotiated. And the money isn't for you." Her breath caught. "Mom, what are you saying?" "I'm saying," I whispered, "that this was my final lesson to you." I stood. "I loved you with everything I had. I protected you, carried you, gave you every dream you ever asked for." She sobbed harder. "But you forgot that love is not a weakness. That kindness is not stupidity. That mothers are not machines." She shook her head violently. "Mom, don't do this. Don't leave me." I touched her cheek, gently, lovingly, the way I did when she was small. "I'm not leaving you," I said. "I'm simply stepping out of your way." So you can finally learn who you are. Without taking pieces from me, she begged. She promised. She swore she would change. But I had heard promises before. From her father, from friends, from people who love convenience more than loyalty. I'll always love you, I said. But I won't let you hurt me again. I walked to my car, my new car, and closed the door. As I drove away, I saw her through the mirror. Small, broken, sitting on the sand of a beach that never belonged to her. But I wasn't angry, and I wasn't triumphant. I was free. Free in a way I hadn't been since I was 18. Free in a way that tasted like sunrise. Because what she never knew, what she still doesn't know, is that I didn't just have savings. I was a silent millionaire. A woman who built herself quietly, wisely, patiently, and now, finally, my life was mine again.